All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Finance the Opinion. And today we're going to be talking about QBIT, the utility token for Project Quantum, a AAA first-person shooter looter set in space. Now, I'm sure you're asking yourself, haven't we seen a lot of space set first-person shooters in the crypto space? Well, yes, we have. And who would have thought a bunch of tech heads like space and space video games, let alone first-person shooters? That is not something that we have any shortage of in the crypto space. But what I will say about QBIT is the fact that I like the way it looks like they're going about it. Now, let's use a comparison, for example, something like Star Atlas that I think we're all aware of as a very large endeavor coming into the AAA gaming space, trying to develop a very large, more similar game to Star Citizen, right? Something also very large and big that's still in development, that is huge with an economy and a massively open playing world. Think of the broad scale that involved in something like that is Star Atlas. Well, that's not what Project Quantum is. Like I said, it's a first-person shooter, but it's a looter. So there's going to be a map, and you go in, you loot, you come out, and you can sell that loot for real money. That loot, that crypto, that QBIT, that utility token will be convertible obviously into any other token, USDC, any stablecoin you want after you've sold your in-game assets. That's what QBIT is going to be utilized for. It's basically a play-to-earn game where you're doing the looting mechanism from any standard gameplay you've had out there. They're not reinventing the wheel when it comes to a first-person shooter looter. They're just trying to incorporate blockchain to it. And this is what I've been thinking has been needed for the entire time we've been developing crypto space games. Like, mobile games, I think, are kind of starting to get it because it's very easy to incorporate blockchain. But first-person shooters, a lot of these like 3D developed games, they're going about it in such a crazy, intense way. It's like, just make a simple game that already works, a theme that already works, and just incorporate blockchain so we can see the proof of concept, we can get people involved, we can get more excitement behind it. And that, it seems, is what looks like Project Quantum, or Project Quantum, is the project. Quantum Works is the company or development team behind it. That looks like what they're trying to do. Here's a game type that works and people actually play, and let's just add blockchain to it. And I've read somewhere within it, I'm not sure if it was in Twitter or their Discord, that was talking about actually being a little bridge or a porting mechanism that they were utilizing for the off-game, off-blockchain assets to connect to the on-chain blockchain assets. So it seems as though they've just approached it with like, here's our development, let's build this thing, and then let's just connect it via blockchain, which it seems like the easiest way to go about it. Now, I'm not sure if a lot of projects out there aren't necessarily all doing that. Obviously, I haven't been through all of them, but I do like that is the approach that's pretty straightforward as to what they're doing. As I've mentioned before, we have seen some progress. So that is in the form of some footage. We actually have some alpha game footage with a number of the developers going on their YouTube channel to talk about it and showing off some of the mechanics that they're working on. They're past building some of the models and some of the world. They're actually into, well, how do the mechanics work that we want to make them work? And I actually saw part of their YouTube. They were playing Apex Legends, which is a wildly successful first-person shooter that has very interesting mechanics, especially noting their slide mechanism, their ability to move around. The movement mechanics inside of Apex is very big for that game type, if you're into it. And it seems as though they're looking to leverage some of that style into this game, which I could see doing very well because obviously they're taking from what already works. Now, when it comes to the looter shooter style, we're talking like Tarkov. Now, I know Tarkov isn't for everybody, but there's also another space game that I'll probably put the slide up of what that game is called right here that is related to that. It's doing okay and it's space related. It actually reminds me a lot of this. And the fact that they're connecting blockchain to it could be a proof of concept that just goes like, hey, here's something that works, let's actually make it go forward. So what I will say about the team, we'll talk about a little bit further on, will be related to their ability to follow through on this, although we have actually seen some stuff come through. All of the gaming footage and the art style behind this project actually is very cool too. So those are things we would be looking for, obviously, if they're claiming to be a AAA gaming studio that's bringing that to the platform, is that they're going to be actually giving us good graphics. It's gonna look the part, it's gonna play the part, and the marketing's gonna fit. It actually does fit. And so on all of those fronts, they're pretty much making it make sense. So those are my quick thoughts off the top as a project as a whole. I wanted to just give that rundown on how I feel about it and say, yeah, I'm probably pretty bullish on this because, again, I think the approach they're going is for a more simplistic version of what some of these more in-depth projects are trying to accomplish. I feel like these would be a lot quicker to get there, and hopefully we will see that. Now, if that's all the answer you were looking for, this is the point where, yeah, you can probably shut this off, leave the like, hit the subscribe if you got any content you actually liked out of this. If not, stick around because I'm gonna go through, talk about the team, I'm gonna talk about the actual token itself, and we'll look at the price action through the rest of this video, so stick around. All right, let's jump straight to the QBIT section of their website where it basically talks about what you're getting when you invest into the QBIT token. Now, I did say that this is a utility token, so you always need to think about that as the reality for what it is. It's going to be part of the economy that QBIT brings to the table or whatever the project is related to. Now, those aren't always necessarily the best to be purchasing into because whether or not their value will go up has yet to be seen in a lot of projects. But what I will say about this is that you as a holder can actually benefit from holding it. So from an investment standpoint, these are some of those parts of utility tokens that make them a lot more enticing. So it is part of the BEP20 standard, which is a Binance token. If you've watched my channel before, you probably know how I feel about Binance. I'm on the fence about it because I know it's easy to develop, but that also means that it's easy for scammers to take advantage of it. So I am on the fence about it, but I do know that it's fast, it works, there's a lot of fans out there, so I always have to kind of just stand sideways. I don't hold a lot of BEP20 tokens, but I do appreciate the concept. They've obviously made development on it, and any game that needs it, it's gonna need the speed brought to it by like a Polygon or a big Binance token blockchain because it will need that speed. It's a game, we need those NFT assets, we need all of those development tokens to be part of it. So what you're getting from it is that you're getting this token and there's actually 1 trillion of them. Now that's a lot. Now that is a lot, right? But obviously, price action, market capitalization, they can all benefit from it. But what the main feature I really want to talk about here is the 10% tax on all buy, sell, and move transactions. So right off the bat, it's kind of hidden, but we can see where the revenue for this project will be coming for. Now they have mentioned that the project will actually be a free-to-play game, just like has been a very proven and well-established model up until this point. You play for free. You're probably gonna have to purchase your NFT assets, and yes, this does offer NFT assets, your characters, a lot of the outfits, I would imagine, are all gonna be developed in the NFT. They do have a marketplace, and we'll talk about that in a second, but you can see another portion of their revenue model will be from this 10% tax on all buy, sell, and move portions of this token. So whenever you transact and you move it, they're gonna take a 10% cut off of that. And it's something to be noticed because a lot of people I've seen in some comments about QBIT have been calling it a scam because of this. Well, little do they know that a project needs to make money from somewhere. And you have to understand that the concept of making money and basically giving up some of your money for something you want to use, it's just how all other products work. So I'm not really upset about this, especially once you realize where those percentages go to. Now they've split them up into 3 categories. 3.5% will be actually swapped and liquidated to BNB. So that will be a portion of actually being brought to the development team and being able to help them develop on into the future, right? That's gonna be their portion of development futures going on, their revenue. 3.5% is gonna be injected back into the game economy for rewards. So those are gonna be where the value comes from that you're getting. So when you go to sell assets and it's gonna be worth some stuff, that's where the value is gonna come back from. So the money, part of their revenue, like I've said before in all my tokenomic videos, is the revenue sharing involved inside of this is gonna be where that value is gonna come from. It just can't be for free. So they're gonna be putting that back into the game, and 3% is gonna be given back to QBIT holders. So if you have this, it has an automatic staking feature. Other aspects, auto staking, something part of the Binance token chain that you can incorporate into it if you set it up. And 3% back to a holder of using it basically means it's really not a 10% transaction fee. It's actually a 7% transaction fee, right? So that's because you're getting back your 3% anyway on all of those transactions, pretty much. I think the math would probably work out exactly that way. I can't think about it off the top of my head, but basically that's where the money is going to. And it's good to see that a chunk of it is going back into places that need to, the game to keep it going and to also make it a play to earn game. Something I've mentioned a lot of play to earn games are missing is like where they're talking about where the revenue goes back. It's like, here's the money for the development team, here's for our reserves, but what do you use it for? That 3.5% being put back into the in-game economy basically would be their ability to purchase back tokens or in-game assets with some of that money that's revenue that's been taken off the table from their players and put back into the game. So that's one of the features that you get when you hold the QBIT token. 1 trillion is quite a lot, keep in mind, but you do get some, as a investment, you do get some of your token back, so you get some of the value back of it, so that tax really isn't that taxed, which is interesting because you could just minus it off, you would think. The 3.5 being injected back into it is you understand where your money's going, so you have to play to win, otherwise you're paying for other people to win in some capacity, and yes, they're some development costs. So I do appreciate everything that is being put forth in this part here. All right, let's stop over to BSC Scan and take a look at the on-chain metrics so we can kind of see if there's anything fishy going on in the background. We can see the 1 trillion QBIT is the total supply. We can see 48,000 holders, and that's a number I like to see. That's the 5 digits. That means there's a number of people who know about this. That's a great thing to see and something I like to combine with the social metrics on whether or not there's enough people who know about this. 48,000 is a decent amount. Really what we're doing here is we're coming along to look for anything fishy. So we're looking at the percentages held by any one token to see if they're too large and they don't have smart contract capability. These little images on the left-hand side are smart contracts. So we can see PancakeSwap, an obvious one, has a huge percent, which is still only 1.5%, but the Unicrypt token vesting, which is where it is locked up. And we can actually see that by heading on over to their NFT marketplace, where we can see these metrics at the top here with the locked assets, circulating supply, and burnt up into this point, and they're available for us. And we can see that that locked assets actually matches the same amount inside of this. So this is where the vesting will continue out. Let's take a look at the white paper in a second. The one I actually am not 100% sure on what it is this null dead address, which is a very interesting address because I don't like the word dead in it. I'm not sure what that's related to, but it does have 5% and it has a number of tokens that are deposited each month into this token. I would assume that these have to do with the devs, and we can go take a look at the tokenomics to see what we can figure out what it is, but it's interesting. It's an interesting nomenclature for what it is. A number of the tokens actually also head on back towards PancakeSwap when they leave this. So they'll enter into that address and then they'll exit, dumping into PancakeSwap some liquidity, it looks like. So it seems to be a distribution channel for the development team of some capacity, but it's not really, I don't know what it's matching up to, because it would be nice to have some sort of like naming convention other than that, but we don't know. If we take a look at the white paper, now the rest of the white paper is pretty much fluff for the project, basically like a sell to people on the game. And this is really the important part here, is the token information. Let's go up here, scroll over. So we can see this is really the only tokenomic information that they have output that I could find readily available. So obvious, all of that straightforward stuff, but we're starting here from the pre-sale down to this. So pre-sale, 10% of tokens sold at pre-sale. Air burn, 12% of token will be burned, airdropped in the first 12 months from launch. Unlock 1% each month. So that's that first year that 12% is going to be burnt. That would probably be related to the 55 million that are burnt already. Developer wallets, 11% locked for 2 years. So we are not quite into the second year. So these are still locked up, which means we have a little bit of time to see some progress, hopefully, before all those become available on the market. External investment wallet, 25%, available for external investments. Not sure, didn't see a wallet there holding 25%, and not really sure what they mean by external investment. So this one's a little bit interesting and concerning just because you're not really sure what that means. At this point of writing this, the tokens in circulation was 203 million. So, so we would have assumed that some of those extra being unlocked from the 70% that are locked up, but it doesn't even speak to that, which is kind of interesting. So it has a smart contract related to vesting those tokens and holding on to them for longer, but it doesn't talk about it specifically in their white paper, which is kind of interesting. You would think that would be a big note to kind of mention and talk about what it is related to, and how those are going to come out, how those are all going to unrelease. So as far as the tokenomics and the on-chain metrics, it's an interesting one. I like that they're available here and not too many hold any one percentage too large, like a random address holding 15%, 20% that could just be sold at a whim. But it's still, I would like to know how it's going to come out. That would be an interesting thing to know as an investor. This might be a point where if you know, leave it in the comments down below. It might also be information that could be found in the Discord, which I have not yet found already. And as you did see, I did take a quick look at the marketplace because I wanted to show you these metrics. I'll talk about the NFT marketplace, which this is it, you're looking at it. And I can't, for some reason, get the NFT marketplace to actually list any NFTs for sale. And I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong. I should get an answer from Discord soon, hopefully. But either I'm doing something very simplistically wrong, or it's not very straightforward, or it's broken. I'm not sure, but that's not great. But yes, they will have their own NFT marketplace where you can purchase. I did see it in a video and it looked a lot more fleshed out than this. So this is, it's being developed. So I don't know where we are. They are going to be having one. This is what you got right here. Take it for what it is. Now, obviously, a very big part of any crypto project is going to be that team, and something that I think too many people usually glaze past and don't give it the full credence it needs. It is something we need to look at, because the social engineering behind scams, it's really behind the people. So looking at the people and the team is a very important aspect of it, and something I always incorporate in my videos, or as often as I can. And what I would say to it is that for a project of this size and what they're looking to accomplish, there is some experience lacking slightly. Now, and I'll point to our CEO, who is obviously developing a company, and it seems to be going forward. I do see progress in the company, but all the previous job applications or jobs that he's worked at before this aren't really related to blockchain or gaming development. However, they do potentially allude, and you can see through here, they do allude to some form of management or leadership skills, which is what we really ultimately want in a CEO. So that is one thing to kind of keep in the back of your mind related to it. He, however, does mention in his sort of little bio that he was originally started his own business as an IT services guy, and that was always his dream to have some sort of gaming company or larger tech company. So you can understand and give someone a dream and holding on to it and actually working towards it, and this could be it. So we're not gonna fault him for any part of not having that history behind there. What else I would say is that a number of the members aren't available on LinkedIn. The few others related to the principal designers, not a massive amount of experience, like directly compared to games. I mean, I believe this Jason Tennant actually worked at a number as a game tester and has worked at a number of actual gaming studios that I've heard of. So those are probably the biggest part. The Solidity contract developer has also done a little bit of work, but there's not a large amount. I believe it was a relatively short resume underneath that. It was actually more like tech stuff or like computer stuff related stuff, not so much electrician. It was an electrician. It wasn't necessarily even Solidity. So again, LinkedIn we have to take with a grain of salt, but it is our best asset for finding out what this is related to. But one thing I would say is their senior blockchain developer, our boy down here on the bottom, is does seem to have a decent resume related to blockchain, and seeing as that's going to be one of the major aspects here, that I'm okay with that, because he's got a decent resume related to it. What I would also say about this is that I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt in the fact that we've actually seen some gameplay. We've seen working mechanics and a game moving forward. So clearly they're doing something right. There's two ways that can happen. Either they're ripping it off from somewhere else as video from alpha footage from other projects that we don't know about, which is highly unlikely and hugely conspiracy theory, or they're actually making the stuff work. So let's give them the benefit of the doubt on that. Now, it is something just to think about. Not major names here, but definitely there's a little bit of credence here, again, kind of where it looks like it needs to. And again, proof is in the pudding, as I always say. Something else to note about the team is that they recently just moved to Dubai, or their headquarters to Dubai. I would say that the majority of the people, it was founded in the UK. I would say the majority of people, wherever they are today, remote work is easy. However, they did move their entire operation or headquarters moved to Dubai, and they do cite it as being red tape. United Kingdom red tape related to cryptocurrencies. And this is something anywhere in the world we actually know about. A lot of nations are coming up with a lot of regulations related to this. Dubai has been very friendly when it comes to this slice of the developing world, so it's no brainer for them that they're actually going to be moving their headquarters there. What I would say to that is that really just means a PO box sort of thing, but it does mean they're serious. The fact that they've even gone through those actual steps to make that happen does lead towards, well, they're taking it seriously enough. Like, if you're gonna scam, then let's scam the full way, or actually be a real project, because that's work, that's effort, that's time that they've got to be able to do that. So I do appreciate that too, and I like the fact that there's actually some growth within the company from a standpoint of trying to develop further forward. So moving on from the team, I like to usually take a look at sort of the social proof, what people out there are saying. So we're looking at the social media channels, etc. And what we see is that they have about 27,000 followers on their Twitter, which is a number and a value that alludes to a number of people know about this project. We'd like to see it. That combined with the holders of the tokens, these are good numbers. We do see a little bit of actual engagement with each one of the posts that is related to him. A lot of them are related to the CEO. I believe their marketing person actually follows around with him a lot. It would seem that way. We do get regular updates from the dev team about the assets that they're developing, the NFTs, but we are seeing some engagement there. So we are seeing some retweets, we are seeing some actual hearts, and that's a good sign. What I would say is that when you do a search for QBIT, you do the $QBIT search, you can see that there isn't quite as much chatter or anything that's getting anywhere near as much attention as from the actual project itself. So there isn't a lot of other people out there, appreciating the content or out there putting out more about QBIT or searching for that content, so to speak. So God, please let this video do good. Hopefully this is something that people are actually searching for. And if you do appreciate the content, this is the perfect time where if you want to help and you do like it, then a like or a subscribe, they do help, because then they will help other people find the project, which ultimately are good for the value of it going up, because we're all a WAGMI. And and it does help the channel, which I appreciate it. So let's move on from Twitter now. Boom. Quick stop at Reddit. We've got a number of posts, not a huge amount of interaction. Obviously, Reddit is really a place just for updates and any sort of tech support generally these days for the vast majority of these crypto projects. So I don't see a lot here, but something to take a look at. We do see that they have a Medium article that isn't hugely in depth. We get an update once a month. It looks like sort of a development diary update is what it looks like. So we're getting sort of these graphics, which they've been sharing a lot of their Twitter feeds and whatnot. So these aren't the in-depth Medium articles that we see from a lot of other projects, but we are seeing occasionally some stuff come up. 20th of June was the last one, so they are still occasionally coming out there. And while I'm here, I will also talk about the Discord, which has around 7,000 or 7,500 members in it. Not insanely active, not as active as a lot of other projects I've seen, even smaller projects where it's really active group of people. Some of these posts were set, a few weeks in the past, and the number of topics and discussions having about related to very recent today and yesterday weren't really 100% related to the project itself. So it isn't like it's got a lot of talking fanfare going on right now. Again, I would still say that they are developing out and we're putting out updates, and we are seeing the assets being developed further into the future, which is a good note. We're just not getting a lot of that social proof, which is something that is always something to look at when it comes to crypto space, keeping in mind, thinking about how people in the crypto space, even if a working project, we don't have a working project, they're willing to hype it up to the moon because there's so much chatter about it. There's so much social out there, like people, diehards and fanboys that are propagating it up. So it is something a little bit, it would be nice to see it getting a little bit more love. It might help it ultimately push, but I think we will be due for seeing that once we start seeing a little bit more come out from the game. If they keep it this step and this progress that they're going, this shouldn't be a problem for them at all. Now, in order to not make this the longest video in the world and try and just give you the information you need when it comes to investing in these tokens, let's take a look at the price action, which you've all been waiting for, and I think is pretty much the best part of the video. So I save it for last so that we can stick around and watch all these videos. Here we are looking at, I can't even pronounce what that is, number related to it, but that has to do with the fact that there is a max supply of 1 trillion tokens. So don't really get too bummed out about the lowness of this number. Remember, anybody who doesn't understand market cap doesn't understand how that number itself actually works. So that still could be worth, fully diluted, $64 million, which this has actually gone down a little bit. It was 64, I think, yesterday when I was looking at this. But basically, let's call it 64 for round numbers. That means that much money. I've seen a lot smaller projects with a lot less going on that have nothing. There's no money going on, and some that have much higher numbers. So this is a very low cap sort of token right now. But for a project that is moving forward, has some stuff going on, it gives them some capital to work with. And this is what I like to see. I like to see some numbers being put up that are actually going to help them move forward. Now, they are looking to develop a gaming studio. So we need to talk about what the whole thing is looking to do before we kind of talk about possible price prediction on where we've seen. We can see what it did on the previous all-time bull runs, and we saw it do a nice little rally. We saw it rise on up. Let's do the math real quick. So after doing the quick numbers and taking a look at how it ran through this previous bull, taking a rough low down here at the bottom. So we're gonna say this for round numbers, and going to our all-time high, it was a roughly 200x investment if you had to purchase this before the bull run. So that is an absolutely astronomical amount to have possibly made off of this play, which would have been very nice indeed. And I would say that that's probably related to the fact that they've been developing things. They've actually been working on their project going forward, and it looks like they're making steps in the right direction. Again, seeing those assets develop over this bear run will be a huge aspect. I would say easily we could see it get back there, right? Because if people liked it before, based on what it had, if it actually starts to develop that game into something, this could be a decent number. They're going simplistically about it, and it is definitely an approachable thing for them. So quickly also doing the math, if I were to actually sit there comfortably as an actual raise to get to this all-time high, the value based on the max supply would be 582 million. Now that's actually not that crazy if this company does manage to make it as a gaming development studio. I would say that if they deliver on a simplistic approach, a format that works, connecting blockchain and actually showing an economy that pays out token, not very much, it's not gonna be a lot of money that'll get out of it, but you'll definitely get something out of playing the game. You'll loot, you'll be able to sell that for some dollars, maybe it's a few, who knows. It being worth something in the future and saying 500 million, that's a drop in the hat these days for a developer that's actually making products people are playing. So I would say that it could easily get back up there. Seeing from where we are right now, we're not quite at the same price as we were pre-bull run, but let's do that quick math. From this point, that would probably only mean a 10x, but a 10x is a 10x. We have seen a number of other projects out there that could easily eclipse that number when it comes to getting back to their all-time high. But could this go in further into the future? And the major question here I'm sure you're gonna be asking is, could this go further than that previous all-time high? Well, yeah, obviously. The all-time highs that we always see in those bull rallies are unsustained, unrealistic reaches for the stars as they fall back to earth and try to find some sort of equilibrium and real price point. So when we're talking about just getting back there from where we are now, that seems like a no-brainer to be a 10x, but we could potentially see it go even further in that next bull run. So I would say that giving into consideration that a 10x is a very safe bet for you that you could probably see behind this. Now, remember, this isn't financial advice, but that's just a suggestion based on the previous numbers we've seen here. Now, when it comes to these smaller altcoins and it comes to these little guys, you have to remember that anything can sway them, and it's something as simple as good news or bad news can really be a make or break for these projects. However, if they continue to develop and actually make some stuff, this could easily get back to where it's already seen before. So with all that said, let's wrap this in a little bow for you on my final thoughts. Basically, what I started off with was I like the approach. I think it's simplistic, and I think that going about it in making a game as quickly as possible in a format that works, let's go guys, and just attaching it to blockchain in as simplistic as a fashion as you possibly can would be the play for any game developer. Let's get a game that has a simple mechanism where people can make money on. Not some crazy economy, not some crazy new, the fourth frontier of crypto space and dealing with the economies and the tokenomics. Let's just keep it very basic when it comes to the straightforwardness of the gameplay, games that work, and instead of having in-game currency, let's just change that for a cryptocurrency. Simple. And I think that's what this project's looking to do. The speed at which they've been developing so far from 2021, they've already made some pretty good headway for something that's claiming a AAA gaming title. That's a great thing I would love to see. My play for this would be to keep it on a watch list and just see what news they keep putting out. Follow the Twitter, follow the Telegram, see what information comes out and how fast they are able, through this bear run, able to put out some more good information on that gameplay. Hopefully we could see some stuff in the near future. They do have a little bit of a roadmap. I didn't actually cover it in this video, but it's really kind of stops here at the end of this year, and it's really just related on continuing to work more into their game. So I don't think we'll see an actual working game until 2023, but that would be even hopeful then. But I still feel like the token, if they make progress, would be something that could be a potential play or worth a bag hold as it shoots on up to the moon. So remember guys, it's not financial advice. I'm just some guy with an opinion talking to a camera here. I don't want to see any more of those comments talking about like the way I deliver in this and how you're not liking this and all that sort of stuff. If you disagree with it, give me the reasons in a verbose way and let me know actually how you think I got it wrong with some actual behind it, not just yelling scam. And anyone just putting the word FUD is immediately gonna be blocked. Those are nonsense. Let's actually talk about whether or not I got this right or not. Leave the comment on how you feel about this token based on some logistics, based on some actual reasoning. I insist, otherwise I'll kick you off. I don't even want to talk to you. I just want to talk to people who are into it to talk about it. I'm not trying to be too bullish or too fuddish, just somewhere in the middle, a normal person. So leave a comment if you appreciate that, if you want to talk about that, and leave a like and subscribe if you appreciate the content or any of the value out of this, whether it was entertaining or if you actually got some value out of it. It does help the channel and I appreciate that. Remember guys, again, not financial advice, it's just opinion, and I'll see you in the next video.